What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Cinema Royale with a very special guest today. Scott, thanks for joining us. You want to? I guess we'll run your plugs at the end as well. But if you want to run your plugs real quick,
well, we can. Why don't we? We're the hosts. We should listen.
I did. I said hello. That's how you introduce to people in Slovakia, where I'm from.
This is how you introduce someone.
Oh, please show me, sir.
If you're wondering why I'm outnumbered here today, it's because we've got Scott Menzel joining us. Joining us from on the West Coast, the creator of We Live Entertainment, and creator of the Hollywood Film Critics Association too as well. Got big things going on over there, man. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. It was not necessary for you to do that elaborate introduction, but hey, I appreciate it.
Man, you know what? We don't bring guests in here a lot. We do it every now and then. Usually John and I just like to kick it with one another, but whenever we do bring guests, I feel like they should be introduced at least. So welcome.
Which apparently I'm not allowed to do anymore.
Not after that, you're not. But on this week's show, we're going to be talking about. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We got to talk about WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
We have to talk about that. The first thing from Marvel we've had in over a year. So, I mean, got to talk about it. We're going to do our most anticipated films of 2021. We probably should have done this a couple weeks ago, but John and I have been, we were busy, so we didn't get a chance to do it. So we got that coming up, and we got plenty of reviews this week as well that we're going to try to get to as well. I can't remember what any of them are, but that's what we got.
We got American Skin we want to talk about. There's a new Anthony Mackie action movie on Netflix, Outside the Wire. We're going to talk about that for a minute.
One Night in Miami.
Yeah, there you go. We briefly chatted on that last week, but I think it definitely deserves a few more minutes. The Marksman, 114-year-old Liam Neeson's latest action movie. We'll be talking about that as well. And I think that wraps it up. But we'll probably find some other random things.
Well, yeah, we have a hard time getting it into the hour anyway. But let's get started because I really want to get Scott's picks for his most anticipated for movies of 2021. Because 2020 was a really strange year. We all can admit that. Yeah. And 2021, by comparison, is fucking loaded with fucking movies because everything from 2020 that was supposed to come out is coming out in 2021. So we got a lot of this shit coming out. And I only picked 5 for myself. I picked 5. So if I had done more, then I would have kept going. And I purposely limited myself to no superhero movies because it would just take them. It would just take them all up.
That's true.
I mean, if I was honest, it would take them all up.
Yeah.
So I try to not pick any for my list, but you guys can do whatever you want. I'm just saying that's what I did. But we got so many things coming out here that look awesome. Probably easily could have done 100 movies, probably.
And hey, it not only is it a packed year, but it's not even a packed full year. All the stuff that was supposed to come out last year, all the stuff's being packed into basically late April, May to the end of the year. So I don't know how anybody's going to make any money in these theaters because it's going to be, you're going to have 6 hours to make your box office before the next blockbuster comes out. But it should be a good year for us.
Yeah,
I don't have stock.
What do you think about the year coming up, 2021? How's it look for you?
Personally, let's not count our chickens before they hatch. I'm not really sure that half these movies are going to come out by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Just because
we've already seen some move already.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we're already seeing that. There's already talk that No Time to Die is going to be moving again. We've seen already a bunch of shifts. I think HBO Max with Warner Brothers is really taking the bull by the horns with this. They know that they're going to be in this for a while, so they moved up Godzilla versus Kong. Mm-hmm. I love that Lionsgate also pushed out that whatever that Barb goes to the beach or whatever the hell that movie's called.
Oh yeah, Vista Del Mar.
Yeah. So I think we're starting to see that, but I do think the best part of everything that has happened between last year and this year is Netflix coming out last week with that trailer that basically was like, let's give a middle finger to all the studios who weren't prepared for this and say, we have a brand new movie coming at you every single week. All of 2021.
Yeah,
not
it was
just any movies, like legit high level A-list stars in them. Now, so you're out in LA, right? So you guys are pretty much getting the strongest lockdown of the country. So you're absolutely right. And I mean, with a vaccine rolling out, we tend to veer into politics somehow every single show. So we'll try not to do that. But with the vaccine starting to roll out, but obviously not the way they expected it to, even the early predictions of most vaccinations being out to people by May is probably not going to happen. So I mean, you're absolutely right to bring that up. I mean, I wouldn't even feel safe saying packing theaters till August.
When was the last time you went to a screening, Scott? Like an actual screening?
I actually saw Wonder Woman on the big screen.
Okay.
Oh wow.
All right.
Yeah. Did it improve it at all?
One of whopping 4 people in the theater, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, though, I haven't been to one since Tenet. That was what, September, October, whatever, September maybe.
Oh God,
September.
That was yeah.
We haven't had one here since then, and there weren't very many people at that one. So,
well, they made all the LA people drive to Vegas if they wanted to see Tenet. Right?
I heard about that.
I never got invited, but I would never have drove to Vegas. Yeah. And if I ever drove to Vegas to see Tenet, I would be more mad about that movie than I am now, having driven an hour to go see it.
Yeah, no kidding. I have to wonder, and I'm assuming it's the same way all over the country. Maybe this is a unique to DC thing, but at all our screenings here, there is a group of maybe 20 to 25 people that you see at every single screening. They, whether they're getting them from the radio or they brought them to a group. I really want to know what's happening in those people's lives this year because they existed every single day. They'd go, be there 2 hours early to get in line, wait to see these screenings. I'm worried about them. I'll be honest.
I actually am kind of worried about some of those people too because we did have a pretty dedicated group of people they centered their entire lives on coming to those screenings. Man, they haven't had anything to do. That it's kind of worrisome.
I would agree. I don't know if there's so many of them out in LA. I mean, I'm sure there are, but they're so scattered. We have so many screenings every single day. Mm-hmm. But I do remember when I was in Philly. I mean, there was like that same group of like 15 to 20 people. And you're like, man, they go see everything. How do they get access to all this stuff? They get better access than I do.
I say that all the time. Like every time people come up to me and they're like, you get to see all the movies. I'm like, you people see more than me. Yeah. And you see them before me sometimes. Like, I mean, like, I don't know what you're complaining about. And you don't have to go home and write about them. Like, you can see them and then not think about them ever again.
I know. That's
like,
the best
I envy
part.
you. I envy you people. The only benefit I got is I got to stand in line.
So, with the caveat that some of these movies may get moved or not released this year at all, as far as your most anticipated movies, I know I had to break my list down at least 3 or 4 times. I really probably should have done what you did, Travis, and taken out superhero movies. But
you wouldn't have anything left on your list if you did that.
I would too. I would at least have one James Bond movie. No Time to Die, obviously.
All right.
And Coming to America 2. Coming to America.
That's confusing. Pick. That's your first pick. That's your first one.
Yeah, let's put that. We'll go in no particular order like we usually do, I guess. Yeah. Coming to America is gonna be one of mine. I just, I had questions about it, and then you see the trailer and you realize that Arsenio and Eddie go right back to it. It really felt the same, like they had the same energy towards it in a lot of ways. So this could be one of those times that a long-awaited sequel actually does something right.
I say this all the time when it comes to Coming to America too. All those people in my life, my friends who are sort of movie fans, but not really movie fans. Like they like, the mainstream movies.
Right.
Who have been telling me for 20 years, showing me out those fake posters of Coming to America 2 and Friday 6 and, these fake posters that people have put up and like, is this coming out, Travis? No, it's not. It's not coming out. And now it's coming out. And this happened with Bad Boys 3 also. And, because they were showing me fake posters of Bad Boys 3 for 20 years too. Mm. And all of a sudden the movie comes out and they're like, see, we told you it was coming out. And I'm like, that joint wasn't coming out for 20 years. And all of a sudden somebody decided to make it and you think you're right.
Right.
But Coming to America 2 is kind of like that too.
Yeah.
But I actually, I was very fearful of it until I saw the trailer as well. It looks like it's going to be funny. I think it does.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see Arsenio's still, Arsenio. Has he been seen by anybody other than this trailer?
You thought he was suddenly not going to be Arsenio?
No, I mean, he doesn't. He hasn't. His look hasn't changed. He seems to still have it. Yeah. He's been Ghost. Him and Sinbad are off on a cruise somewhere for the last 20 years.
What do you think of Coming to America 2, Scott? You think it looks funny?
I'm still nervous about it. I'm not gonna lie. You know, obviously I grew up with it. It was one of my favorite Eddie Murphy comedies growing up. The PG-13 rating really does worry me. You know, I can't get past that. And the trailer just sort of banks on nostalgia.
Oh yeah.
That I'm worried that it's going to be like a Star Wars movie where it's like, you remember this from the first one?
Yeah.
And there's not going to be a lot of new stuff. That's what I'm a little worried about.
That is the fear.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And you know, the PG-13, I guess they didn't know it was going to be going to streaming, but you know, that's one good thing about all this streaming is that people used to bring these down to PG-13 because of the box office. You'd get more people in with a lower rating, but it's too bad they couldn't recut something or add something in, you know, put it how it should have been.
I have a feeling PG-13 was always the goal, but
yeah.
Whatever. My first one is Army of the Dead, Zack Snyder's film with Dave Bautista. You know, I think this. Look, I'm sort of a Zack Snyder apologist for the most part. I understand that he's not the best filmmaker in the world. He can be very repetitive when it comes to his action, but his action is huge, and I like that. Just don't let him like write your script. Like you let him write your script, and you're doomed.
Right.
But but for the most part, I'm excited for Army of the Dead because it's got Dave Bautista looking like a badass, and that's really all I need to make me happy. So so Army of the Dead is probably near the top of my list.
You know, I love that guy more every single day. He's always
Snyder or Bautista.
Bautista. I mean, I like Snyder too. I mean, I always think of him like McDonald's double cheeseburgers. I love the taste of them. I know they're not classy, but I love the taste of them. His, you know, Snyder's his visuals are just there.
I feel like Snyder is more like a McRib.
Yeah, maybe McRib. Yeah,
because like
you always think it's better.
Like
than
every now and then, like every now and then he comes out with something and you get all hyped for it because you're like, the freaking McRib, yo, that shit ain't been here in years. And you eat it and you're like, yeah, it's not that great, really.
That's why they don't have it every day. Yeah. No, Bautista, because you know he's such a charismatic guy. I mean, with Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously he showed us how funny he can be, and he's a fun guy to watch. But he's a really good person. I keep hearing him on different podcasts, and now he's offering $20,000 to find the guy who marked up a manatee or something with Trump, and just all this different stuff he does, man. He just seems like a really good guy.
He's also really improving as an actor, which is the thing I like to see. I say that about John Cena too. You remember when we interviewed John Cena for Legendary? Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ, who knows how many years ago that was now?
Close to 10.
Yeah, probably close to 10. Yeah, it was a long time. Well, still one of the nicest interviews I've ever done for a wrestler that I hated to death. I hated him in the ring, but nicest guy in the world. He knows his limitations, and I think he's actually worked around them really well, which is sort of like what he did in the ring. And he's improved himself. And I think a lot of wrestlers are doing it. Obviously, The Rock did that as well. So Batista, these guys, I'm all for it.
That's great pick too. I mean, I think anybody that's heard anything about Army of the Dead is excited for it. My only gripe is that Netflix. I saw the headlines, Army of the Dead trailer released, but it was the Netflix thing, and there was 3 seconds. But those 3 seconds did look awesome.
Well, I understand why Travis brought me on here now, because I too am a fan of Zack Snyder.
Yeah, he figured it out.
And which ties into what my most anticipated film of this year is, and that is the Snyder Cut.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I you know, it's very funny because I know a lot of people are like, God damn, can we stop talking about this fucking movie already? But I do feel like Zack Snyder got the shit end of the stick with the way that played out. I mean, we know something tragic happened in his life. Warner Brothers brought someone else in to finish the project. It went in a different direction than what he wanted. I would love to know the making of, the real story behind that, like why they didn't wait for him to like kind of recover and give him some time and just pull the release.
Right.
I would love to know that. We'll probably never know that story. But that being said, I love the fact that so many people feel this passionately about his work that they fought tooth and nail for years upon years to allow him to actually get the opportunity to make the film the way that he wanted to. Yeah. And I mean, it's probably going to be a little self-indulgent considering the fact it's 4 hours long, but I am curious to see how it plays out as he intended. And I wonder what's going to happen if people do like it and that it does really get good reviews, which I think there's already a bunch of groups, and Travis and John, please speak to this. I think there's already a bunch of people who are already waiting to bash the shit out of it without even seeing it.
Of course, yeah.
Absolutely.
But I'm just curious to see how this plays out, and I've been really excited for it. I even like the original Justice League. I mean, it's totally all over the place, but I like certain parts of it, and I think seeing what he comes with to the table, what he brings to the table, I'm excited to see how it ends.
Zack Snyder, the thing about Zack Snyder is he always has these amazing ideas. He's always got, like, every time you look at his Twitter or any of his social media, he's got all these things that sound amazing. And you're like, but he wants to put them all in the same movie. It's like, can you spread it out? Like, make that like 6 movies. Like, he wants to put it all in the same movie. Yeah. And so he's like this fanboy who's like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get a chance to do this again, so I'm going to put it all in here. And it makes for really messy, sloppy movies. And Justice League was kind of like that too. And of course, we know that wasn't all him, but a lot of that was. And I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 when I saw it. I thought it was perfectly fine. Yes, it's a mess, but the action was solid. And I like some of the character work in it. Some of it, not all of it, but some of it. You can tell which characters got short shrift because of the change in filmmakers' work. But I'm curious about Zack Snyder's Justice League too. I'm really interested in seeing how this goes, and I do think that Warner Brothers has kind of put themselves in a bind here, because if the movie is a success, then fans are going to demand more from Zack Snyder, and if they don't want to give it to him, they're going to demand it. They're going to want it. They're going to be compelled to give us the Snyder, the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. I mean, they put themselves in a corner with fans. Yeah. They can't act like they can't do this stuff now because they've already done it, and they've given him $70+ million to do it again.
Yeah, they set major precedent.
More than most movies have for their entire budget.
Yeah.
So I mean that's like the Birds of Prey budget.
Speaking of Birds of Prey, I really want to know what happened with that too, because the fact that they're not pushing this movie at all, and like people are still like it's on a lot of people's best of lists.
Yep,
and they're not trying to push it at all. And like Kathy Ann is like completely out of the conversation. You can tell like she's not retweeting, she's not talking about it at all. I'm really wondering what happened because that movie has a really big fan base.
Yeah.
And I think the second one would do great, but I know they're like kind of like iffy if they're going to do it.
I think with Birds of Prey, I think obviously it didn't do great at the box office. It did okay.
Yeah.
It did okay. But pandemic hurt it was one thing. But it really found its fan base, in streaming and digital. It really found its loyal base there. And I think they're waiting until after this whole thing's over. Yeah. I think if anything else, they want to keep Margot Robbie happy. And I think they will entertain the idea of a sequel when this whole thing is over, when this whole pandemic thing is over and theaters are open and they can actually start planning, because that's a movie that you would want to be in a theater where it could make its money. I think we'll start hearing about it again. I don't think it's over for Birds of Prey. I really don't.
I mean, I think going back to Snyder, I was always actually kind of surprised when the overwhelming push by fans came out for Snyder, because he's a guy that was easy to pick on back before he had a tragedy in his family, which probably brought some goodwill his way. But everybody liked to pick on him like they pick on Michael Bay or any of those guys. But
when you make Sucker Punch, you kind of bring it on yourself.
Yeah, but they kind of pulled the ripcord on him way too late or way too early in the game, because he'd been building up. He said himself he'd been building up to Justice League. So all the problems with the previous movies that people had story-wise could have been retroactively fixed by if he was able to finish his story. That's why I want to see what's so special about his story. I hope he's not just bullshitting. I don't think he is. Some of the stuff I've seen and how much of the movie we know was reshot really makes me think there's a totally different story there. So that's a great pick. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And it's, everything around it too. I mean, the fact that it is 4 hours, that they're breaking it down into multiple parts, they're showing everybody that there's a lot of stuff that they said couldn't be done that can be done now with the different mediums we have and everything like that. So.
All right, so we've already, talked ourselves into almost 25 minutes of this show. So, John, what you want to do is the rest of your list, just give them to us.
Just give them down? Oh, well,
give them to us. Rather than run them down the whole list, because, otherwise we'll be here all day.
All right, so Black Widow, No Time to Die, Godzilla vs. Kong, and Morbius. I don't know why Morbius is on my list. I don't know why. I can't tell why.
Now see,
but
Morbius,
I really want to see it. I really want to see it.
If Morbius starred anybody but Jared Leto,
I don't like Jared Leto.
I would be with you.
I don't like him, but I desperately want to see the movie. I don't know why.
Especially after watching The Little Things last night, I'm just sick of Jared Leto. I'm sick of Jared Leto and his look at me play somebody weird type thing that he does. Like for everything now. Like he doesn't do. When was the last time he played just a normal role, just like a regular person?
My So-Called Life.
It seems like it.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it seems like it. But I'm just because he plays them all the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just kind of tired of it. Otherwise, I would agree with you, John. Because Morbius is a character I like in Marvel Comics.
Well, that's my number 5. I would no particular order, but I have the honorable mention right there in line is the Kingsman. I was a huge fan of Kingsman, Secret Service, and the sequel even I thought was really good. But the Kingsman, taking it back to the early days, looks really cool.
Frozen.
I'm frozen?
John, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
At least on my screen you are.
Scott, he's frozen on mine.
Yeah, he's frozen there. So it's you, John. You're frozen.
Okay, well, I'll fix it over here.
We can hear you fine. We can hear you fine, but we can hear you fine. Just know that when I do the screen grab of this episode, it's going to be this, and it's going to be you frozen in that way.
Yeah.
So
he does this every
time. So you always complain. You always complain that I find the most inopportune photo for the screen grab. And
well, you do.
You're right.
He looks through the whole thing and finds the one place where I'm like this, and he screen grabs it and he puts it on the post. It's hilarious.
I think it is. Anyway, that's a good list, though, man. I mean, No Time to Die is not on my list only because I'm not as big a Bond fan as other people are. But I do want to see it just because it's Daniel Craig's swan song. I'm curious about how this is going to play.
I'm really interested to see if it actually is played like a final movie for Craig. Because usually, Bond movies, there's no finality to it. Just a new guy comes in and you go like it any other day. Right. But, they have been putting in some changes. They have been showing us some of the theories are wrong, like James Bond is a code name and that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if he is killed off or he does retire or anything like that before they bring somebody else in.
Yeah. So. Scott, give us the next few of yours.
All right. I'm going to go with The French Dispatch, Nightmare Alley, Quiet Place 2, which I already saw, so I'm cheating a little bit. But I want to see it again. And Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm super duper excited about that.
Let me guess that you saw A Quiet Place 2 last year before everything went to shit.
Yeah, literally the weekend before. And I was supposed to do that junket. And then everything happened.
I think I remember talking to our friend Karen Peterson about that. The screenings were going on for that.
Yeah, it was me and Jazz. We saw it together. Me, Jazz, and Ashley.
Nice. Lucky. I miss you guys out there, by the way. I've been really sad that I haven't been able to go out to LA at all this time over the last few months. It's actually been kind of depressing, but I'm not going to talk about that. You and I share a film on our list because Nightmare Alley is on mine too. Guillermo del Toro. Bradley Cooper. I mean, Jesus Christ. A film noir from Guillermo del Toro with the cast he's put together could be incredible. I cannot wait for Nightmare Alley. Also on my list is F9, of course. I love Fast and Furious. Soggy Bottom, which is P.T. Anderson's film. And everybody knows P.T. Anderson is my favorite filmmaker. I'm curious about this one. Paul Thomas Anderson has not. I used to be like any movie he came out with was number one on my list every year, no matter what. And it hasn't really been that way since, Inherent Vice. It hasn't been that way. He's been on kind of a down streak for me because I wasn't that huge on Phantom Thread either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with you. Those two movies did not work for me either.
Yeah, but this one is bringing him back to the San Fernando Valley, and which is, I'm kind of thinking this could be his return to form. So, plus I'm curious about Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, Cooper Hoffman, and seeing how he performs in the film.
Has he been in anything else?
I don't think so. I think this is his debut, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, yeah. What if he plays the son of Scotty? We don't know. And we didn't know. From Boogie Nights. Yeah. My number one movie of all time, Boogie Nights.
God, that guy, he was so disturbing in that movie.
Yeah.
He just looked
and the last movie on my list is Killers of
Production. What do you
Oh, well, great. Okay, well, my pick was Killers of the Flower Moon, which is Scorsese, DiCaprio, and De Niro. I've always loved that tale of the Osage Indians and who are basically murdered for their oil, the oil in their land.
Mm-hmm.
It's an amazing story, and yeah, I mean, I can't imagine those guys doing anything wrong. Those three, and I want to see how Scorsese is going to tell that story. Scott and I were talking about how it's gone to Netflix, and
it's actually Apple. I just looked it up.
Is it Apple?
It's Apple.
Okay, they spent a ton of money on that, though, right?
$200 million.
Yeah, I knew it was about $200 million that they spent on that. Something gigantic. And I don't know if I'd say Apple was in the same boat as we were talking about with Netflix, where all their movies need an edit. Like The Irishman needed about 1,000 edits. But I'm very curious to see how this thing is going to play. Apple's yet to have that breakout movie. The way
but Apple's been consistently good, minus Cherry. Cherry. I think, even a small movie like Hala, I thought they're all solid movies, and their TV shows too, for the most part, solid.
Well, they don't have that. Had the Greyhound movie this summer?
Yeah, Tom Hanks. Yeah,
fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. They've been solid, but they're waiting for that breakout.
They need that. Yeah, they need that punch.
I think they're expecting this is going to be it. It could be right. It could be right. This could be the movie that does it for them. So.
I just wish we could have 3 months go by where there's not another movie or show that points out some atrocity that was conveniently skipped over in history class.
Yeah.
Every day I'm like, come on, we did that too. So.
Yeah, so those are some of our most anticipated. So we've got, Jesus Christ, we could have done the entire hour talking about our most anticipated movies. But we really should get to some reviews here as well, even if we're going to do just a few minutes on each.
So here's the question. Do we start with WandaVision and risk going off on tangents to the end of the time, or do we just knock the movies out quickly and then get to WandaVision?
Knock the movies out quickly. I really want to get Scott's opinion on One Night in Miami, which is one I know that he saw and we've all seen together. So let's talk about One Night in Miami. I know I talked about it some last week, John, so I'm going to let you talk about it a little bit and let Scott come in with his opinion on it. We're just kind of, how we usually do it. We just kind of talk. So One Night in Miami, Regina King's directorial debut. It was on my number 2 of the year list when I did my top 20.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And I love I got to interview the cast. Scott, I know you were there too. So you're in the breakout room too. So I know you were there too. And I love the conversation that it has about, Black men of stature and power and fame, and what is their responsibility to activism.
Yeah, and that's the power of this film.
I think that's just a fantastic topic. That is, I think, is a topic we're going to be discussing for 1,000 years. It's always going to be a thing. It's always going to be a question.
The premise of that is amazing. And that's what makes this film so powerful. Obviously the performances in it are what keep it up there. But Hamilton, one of the biggest movies released last year. The play released for everybody else to see.
Is it crazy that I forgot about Hamilton already?
Because it's not really a movie; it's a play.
Yeah.
And it's been talked about for years. So
yeah, it's been played out, but. famous song in that "Want to Be in the Room Where It Happens." It's basically the premise for One Night in Miami when Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, who else was it? It was Cassius Clay then, and then
Cassius Clay, Sam Cooke,
and Jim Brown's the other person. Yep. So they were all, that really happened. They all really went into a hotel room together one night. Nobody knows what happens in there, but like Travis said, the setup is that they're talking about what their responsibilities are as black men in America to fight for this cause and to further it and all that. And it's such an interesting question. What?
John, what is our responsibility as black men?
Well, as a black woman, I don't know what black men do, but I feel that no, but it's an interesting, because every person's an individual, and let's say you came up from nothing and you're this huge celebrity with plenty of money, you probably would just want to enjoy your life and just go enjoy what you have. But in this circumstance, do you have a responsibility to stand up for everybody else, in your community or whatever? Aldous Hodge, I've always liked him. I thought he really stood out.
I'm a huge fan of Aldous Hodge.
Yeah. And Leslie Odom Jr., and we mentioned Hamilton earlier, and Kingsley Ben-Adir. I don't think I'd seen him in anything before this, unless at least I don't remember if I did. And he was surprisingly good to me as well.
And I really love Eli Gorey as Cassius Clay as well. Mm-hmm. I think the whole entire ensemble is fantastic. So.
Yeah, but I mean, the movie exists and excels on a platform of great performances and a great idea and a great story. It's set in a hotel room, so obviously those performances are going to be key, and everything about it just keeps you zipped in the entire time, keeps you thinking.
Yeah, what do you think, Scott?
All right, so obviously I have not seen the stage play that it's based on by Kemp Powers. Although I have become familiar with Kemp Powers.
Oh, you're disqualified then. You're disqualified then. You haven't seen it, you're disqualified. You can get out.
What? I've seen the movie.
I'm just kidding, Scott.
I'm
kidding, Scott. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You don't.
I was like, hold on a second. What? I'm like, I saw the movie.
It got real serious in here real quick.
No, come on, man. Go ahead. I'm just.
All right, no worries, man. Sorry, I was a little late to the party on that joke. Sorry. But I think this movie shows how strong Kemp Powers is as a writer, and why Soul is such a mixed bag for me, because it's obviously the work of two different writers, and you can see that pretty much consistently throughout the film.
Yeah, when you watch Soul, don't you get the feeling that Kemp wrote everything on the ground?
Dude, I think, you want to hear my opinion on Soul? I'll tell you, I have not told anyone this personally anywhere else. Sure. But my take of this is that Pete Docter wanted to make Soul. And what happened was he wanted to incorporate jazz. And because of all the backlash that has happened with jazz music since La La Land, with a lot of people like, how is white people making movies about jazz? Yeah. Pixar said, you cannot do this without some sort of black influence. So they both
was that when I went into it, I was like, I really only want to see the stuff in the afterlife, because that's
me too.
I'm like, it's going to be like Inside Out, and they're going to go through all this stuff that we never really thought about and make us think about them in different ways, and it's going to be amazing. And then when they went on Earth, I was like, no, don't do that. I don't want to go there. And then the stuff on Earth was the best part. The stuff on Earth was the best part because it really gave us, it showed us his culture, his family, the jazz scene, all the stuff that made him who he was. And it did have that feel like this is a black person writing about a black story and black culture. And it felt so different than the other part of it. I think you're right. That this was, this was sort of a Pixar thing where they're like, you really need to do this movie kind of this way. If you're going to make this movie.
Well, my understanding was that it was actually originally to be about a paint artist instead of a musical artist. That's why, in the afterlife, everything looks Picasso-ish. But then they decided that to go in a different direction to, whether it was a diversity move or whatever. But so it's definitely started out as one. I think we can all agree it started out as one thing and ended up as another thing at some point, because there is a marked difference between the Afterlife and Earth tone of the film.
Yeah.
So.
But you were talking about we went from talking from one.
Oh no, One Miami. So no, so going back to that, the script in One Night in Miami is fire. It's a really strong script, and the actors do such a dynamite job, with all the monologues, with the way that they carry the film. The problem for me, and this is a problem that I have with a lot of movies. I'm a theater guy. I love musicals and I love plays. Mm-hmm. So when I watch a movie that is based on a play, it doesn't have that same pop. It doesn't have that same punch. So when I'm watching this movie, there's a little bit of a disconnect, because if I was watching that on a stage and I just had the actor in the audience,
yeah,
I'm kind of like, whoa, that's impressive. But when I watch it in a movie version, I'm just kind of like, okay, it's an actor reciting their lines. Mm-hmm. It loses something for me.
The emotional connection isn't there that you feel.
Yeah,
I mean, there's something that's intangible. If you're seeing it in person, you have a unnameable connection with the actors when they're going through.
Right, and that's the same reason why I did like this movie. I enjoyed it. It was actually the first award season movie that I saw, because it wasn't it like the opening night at TIFF, right? It was the first movie to come out of TIFF.
Yep.
It was the first one to kick off award season. I thought it was very good, just shy of great. And then we had Ma Rainey, and I kind of felt the exact same way about that, where it's like, yes, you're very important story, very thought-provoking dialogue and storytelling, but again, doesn't have that punch. I'm just missing these punches at the end of these movies, because it just doesn't resonate the same way. I don't know how to put it. And again, to most people that may not matter, because they're not advocates of theater and whatnot, but for someone who grew up outside of New York and used to go to the theater like once a month.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I felt that one of the things that Regina King did was kind of bring some dynamic qualities to it that I usually don't get from stage to screen adaptations. I always like refer back to August Osage County, which is like when I was watching it, and it's just like, oh god, like sometimes it's just easy to be like, oh no, like just make them so stagey for the screen. It's just bland. But I thought she really did a good job on capturing that. But I feel you, man. I feel you. This stuff happens when you make those transitions. There's absolutely, I totally agree with you 100%. There's nothing quite like being at a stage show, and because every show is unique. Like, even if they get all the lines right every single time, the show is always a little bit different each time. It's always different for each person. So it's totally
yeah, you're always going to lose some, but like you said, it's an important story that needed to be told. And I think we're all on the same page that it's a good one.
I'm very curious to see how it does during the award season too. Very curious.
Speaking of award seasons movies, everybody here saw The Marksman, I assume? Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna win everything. Move away everything else. That's the winner.
The old hardened Arizona rancher.
This is very clearly written for Clint Eastwood, right? Like we can all agree that this was Robert Lorenz hoping that his friends Clint Eastwood would star in it, and Eastwood was probably like, "No, I'm too old."
I'm 93 years old.
Right, or no, I'm too busy, or whatever. And Warren is like, "Well, fuck." Okay, well, Liam Neeson then. That we can all agree on that.
Yeah, because you always want an Irishman a born Irishman to play a Arizona farmer. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
but
weird.
I mean, this is a very, very textbook and foundational story type deal where you have an Arizona rancher that comes across people that need his help. In this case, a migrant mother and her son, or son, daughter. Was it son or daughter?
Son.
I can't remember.
If you don't remember if it was a son or a daughter, you really think this thing is forgettable.
I tuned out through half of it. I'll be honest with you. So I watch it, and usually with action movies, the thing I like about action movies is I can turn my brain off. I can ignore, like Outside the Wire, which if we'll have time we'll talk about. is exactly what I'm talking about. You know, I can ignore logical gaps. I can ignore bad story and bad writing. I can even ignore bad performances as long as the bang bangs blow up nice. You know, because I can get into that. I can follow along with a formulaic story, and it's fun. But this is just, it felt like a paycheck movie.
This isn't Taken. Well, this isn't Taken, right? This
No.
isn't that kind of movie. This is
Taken 3.
Yeah.
Right. This is more like Taken 3. This is ruminating on the violence type thing. This is
Mm-hmm.
you know, this is a deconstruction type thing, sort of. It's not like just a straight action movie. And I didn't hate this movie. I didn't hate it at all. In fact, I watched it and I was fairly entertained by it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just didn't think much of it. It kind of makes nods towards the immigration issue and all this kind of stuff, but it doesn't really want to do that because that will take you into a whole entirely different movie. So it doesn't really want to invest in that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those films where, you know, like if this was Clint Eastwood and, you know, it's Liam Neeson, but they're going through the same thing. It's that guy who's, you know, clearly kind of a conservative guy, you know, he's turning in immigrants, but he's faced with one now that he needs to protect. He's just good enough, you know, he's going to protect these people. And, you know, he kind of changes along the way. You know, it's one of those kinds of movies. He softens, you know, during the trip, and he's defending his kid's life.
Like Gran Torino,
and,
if you compare it to.
It is Gran Torino. It is Gran Torino,
mm-hmm.
basically.
I mean, I think the platform that it came out on is where it works. You know, I think this is the type of movie that you would see like on demand in traditional years, and you would be like, okay, that's where that belongs.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like if I were inclined, I would watch a double feature of like this and Let Him Go. You know, like that Kevin that Kevin Costner, Diane Lane.
I thought Let It Go was a better movie though.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a fine movie. It was fine. You know, and just like I thought this was fine, but they're, you know, they don't inspire much in me. They're, you know, they're perfectly good movies by top-notch veteran actors who can coast through this stuff with ease. Mm-hmm. And Liam Neeson can coast through this thing with ease, even if he's playing a rancher that he's probably ill-suited for. But even he can do that. You know, it's good, but it's just you won't think about it much afterwards, and I certainly won't after all this.
No, and I mean, staying in that same vein, I guess we can jump over to Outside the Wire right from there. Because Netflix released Outside the Wire this week, and Anthony Mackie plays a future cyber soldier. Gotta love Anthony Mackie. And I think it was 2035, 2045. They're over in Eastern Europe. There's all kinds of civil war. They have to go deliver virus or vaccines, and all kinds of crazy stuff happens. This is a dumb action movie that I love. Not love. I mean, not get crazy here. But it had so many drops in logic. I mean, the main character...
Movie's stupid.
Huh?
Movie's stupid.
It's not just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. You have this guy who's supposed to be a highly skilled marine drone pilot.
He's a drone soldier.
Yeah, he's a drone pilot.
Oh no, he's a cyborg. He's a cyborg soldier.
No, I'm talking about the HARP.
Oh, the drone pilot.
Yeah, not Anthony Mackie, the drone pilot.
Okay.
And he's supposed to be, but the dude spends the entire movie just like blatantly disrespecting commanding officers and like not following the lines and not.
Okay, that's
I don't
not
need everything. No, I'm working through it. No, it's not. But that's one thing. And then this is I don't have the actor's name, but the guy that plays Harp. This is him. The first
Damson Idris.
There you go, Damson Idris. First 20 minutes of this movie.
Good actor.
People are yelling. He's blowing things up. He gets over to the war zone, and he's just stone faced the whole time. There was like no emotion, no nothing from him. And I get they were trying to show he was cold and cool and calm, collected. I bring all this up to tell you that none of that shit mattered to me because it was still a lot of fun. You have some pretty damn good visual effects with these Gumps, these robotic soldiers they have. You have Anthony Mackie, who you can't... I challenge anybody to not like Anthony Mackie. I mean, he's the guy in high school.
I know some people who don't like
I know some people don't like Anthony Mackie.
I know some people who don't.
I
really?
know some people, yeah.
Because he's he's that guy that would make fun of you.
They're all dudes too. They don't like it.
Yeah, well, I can't speak for them, but Anthony Mackie is awesome to me. I love his personality. I love his charisma, and he's, you know, obviously we knew he could do action, but you know his time as a leading man with this role was pretty
Look,
good.
The movie's dumb because it keeps piling on unnecessary twists. It is a convoluted movie. It doesn't need to be convoluted at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's a point A to point B movie.
Right.
Is what it is, and it's like they feel like they need to do more. I described it as a classic Netflix movie for me. It's like it's a Netflix blockbuster that has terrific action, and it hints at wanting to be something more than just than that, but it really isn't invested in that because it needs its main goal is to hook an audience to watch it so they can count the view.
I thought you were going to say that it's like a Netflix movie because nobody has ever heard of it. Because I had no idea what this movie was until you mentioned it as we opened this up. And then I Googled it and I looked at the poster and I said, that's an awful poster. And I'm like, I will never watch this movie.
Yeah. That's the weird thing that with streaming. I mean, I understand they're not making box office money, so they don't want to spend the money on marketing. But it's kind of one of those weird side effects you get. There's a lot of major movies coming out that aren't having these huge deluge of media thrown at your face in trailers and posters and billboards and stuff like that.
It's the thing with Netflix; they have so much stuff coming out that it's impossible to keep up. This is a movie that if it played in a theater, we would all know about it. It's a big box office blockbuster movie with Anthony Mackie in an action role that's it's similar in a way to what he does for Marvel. I mean, so it's vaguely superhero-esque. It would have been a big deal movie, but they have so many. This is the problem they're going to face all of this year too. They have so much stuff coming out. There's going to be stuff that just pops up and you're going to be like, that's coming out this week too. What? I don't know what's going on.
It's total market saturation.
It's just too much stuff. And this is one of those movies that's kind of fallen under the radar a little bit. It's not. If it had come out during the summer, it'd probably be different. Like kind of like last summer when they gave us the 1, 2, 3 of Extraction, The Old Guard, and then Project Power, like bang, bang, bang. But that was their summer of blockbusters. This year they've got an entire year of blockbusters, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that kind of flies under the radar.
I think Netflix really needs to work on that. I mean, even for award season. I feel like, they don't understand that part of the appeal of award season is that each studio usually has like 2 to 3 movies that they get behind, right? You can't have 20 freaking movies and hope that they're all going to work.
Right.
And then you can't realistically market them all properly.
Exactly.
So here we are, it's January, whatever, and Mank is like, no one's talking about Mank. That was the big movie. But no one's talking about it. No one cares about it. I know you probably disagree with me on this, Travis, but I really liked Hillbilly Elegy. No one's talking about Hillbilly Elegy.
Yeah. And you're right.
So many of these movies just kind of come and like White Tiger's coming out next week. No one's talking about White Tiger.
One of my favorite. I know, and honestly, you just reminded me of White Tiger, and Ramin Barani is one of my favorite filmmakers. And I completely forgot that White Tiger is coming out and that I need to watch it, and that it's sitting there on my queue that I need to watch it.
Yep.
I completely forgot about it until you just mentioned it, so it's worth it to have you on just for that. So thank you.
I'm here for my Netflix puns and whatever.
All right, we only got a few minutes left. We got to talk about WandaVision.
Yeah. Do you want to do anything about American Skin real quick? I didn't get a chance to see it, but if you want to say a couple words.
It's clunky. It's heavy-handed. It's unsubtle, but it's also provocative as hell. And I think people should watch it. It's going to make you think. It's going to make you talk. You're going to have a lot to say afterwards. It is manipulative as shit. It is aggressive. This is the kind of movie I think we're going to be seeing from Nate Parker. As long as he continues to have a filmmaking career, if he's going to continue on with that, he's going to make movies that press buttons like this does. And I'm fine with that. I think that's a perfectly fine thing to do right now. It tackles the issue of police violence, and it does so without. It does so in an unflinching way, and I'm all right with that. But it is not, like I said, it's very unsubtle. It's very heavy-handed. So just be prepared for that. That's all that really needs to be said about American Skin. So WandaVision. First couple episodes of WandaVision came out this week. First thing we've had from Marvel in ages. I saw the first 3. Did you guys get the 3, or did you guys?
I did.
Yep.
You saw the 3 as well. John, did you see the 3? Or did you see the 2?
I did. I saw the 3.
Okay, so we just seen the first 3. And this series is basically set in what appears to be a different version of reality, in which Wanda and Vision are trapped. I guess you would say trapped in a sitcom world.
Yeah.
And it's a 1960s styled sitcom world.
Mm-hmm.
Something's going on. We don't know what's going on. Watching the first couple episodes of this, I'm not going to lie, I was not super high on the first couple episodes. I thought that they did their job almost too well, because I hate watching old TV shows like that because they feel so dated, and because I always find the humor really just simple. I don't know, archaic, and it just doesn't work. And this was like that, and I was watching it, and I was like, ugh. You know, I get that there's something else going on, and there are some really funny jokes, especially like teasing like Vision's android nature. There's a lot of little puns about that were great. Yeah. But for the most part, first couple episodes, I was not really digging. And then the third episode came, and it blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Third episode, as they start to creep more into the actual mystery and bringing in little tiny elements of the MCU, the show is starting to get amazing. And I'm like really eager to see episode 4 now. Scott, what do you think?
I felt very similar to how you felt. I love the fact that they were trying to do something different. I think when you watch a Marvel movie, you know the formula by now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so refreshing to see something completely new that you would never expect to see from them. So I give them credit for that. My personal problem with it is that it's too nudge, nudge, wink, wink, where it's like, oh, you remember this from I Love Lucy? You remember this from Witch? You know, like it's just kind of like, oh, look, we're in the Brady Bunch house. It's too much of it. Like it's just like, yeah, you get it.
Mm-hmm.
That went like way over the top. And then when you have some of the actors in there, Catherine Hahn, who I love, but Catherine Hahn plays Catherine Hahn. Okay, so watching her in like a 50s setting, you're like, that's not how someone would behave back then, and like it's hard to buy that. And I had problems with it. Some of the other actors are good, and they fit the time period, but some of them are kind of like, I don't know about that. That being said,
well, let's be honest. They were adding a little bit more color to those shows than there really were. That is one thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Marvel's decision, and I know why they did it, and I'm fine with them doing it. But yeah, it didn't necessarily fit.
No. But then when it gets like to the third episode, like you said, it sort of starts building upon like, oh, where is this going? The first 2 episodes kind of like they are like, if you don't really fall back into the nostalgia factor of those, they kind of get lost on you. They really do, because it's just kind of like, it's kind of wacky and weird, and you're like, all right. But the third episode, when you start tying back into the movies and the bigger universe, it sort of hooks you. I will say that I wish that they gave us all of 10 episodes or 8 episodes, whatever it is. I wish it just gave it all at once, because it was a very easy binge. Like you just wanted to keep watching it. Yeah, like it was just like, okay, play.
The episodes are only around 20 to 30 minutes. They're really short. I mean, one episode I think was 27 minutes, maybe even less. I mean, yes, they should have given us all the episodes at once. I think this is a show that would benefit from binging rather than waiting, because I think there's a real, especially if you're not into classic series, I think there's a very real chance of some people kind of drifting away from the show.
Which is why they should have released the first 3 episodes to the public, at least. But I've always wondered, maybe one of you guys know what the thought process is behind these streaming giants deciding whether you're going to be like Netflix and drop it all at once, or Disney Plus and drop it once a week. Like, I'm trying to think about it, and I don't see why you would go to once a week.
I think I think The Mandalorian has proven that, they kind of wanted to get buzz for 8 solid weeks. But I also think that The Mandalorian kind of has enough going for it where like you kind of can end on like a little bit of a cliffhanger and you're going to come back.
Right.
Where this, like, because it's a shorter format, it also doesn't work as well because you're like 20, 30 minutes. Usually when you're watching something short, you want to binge it. It's like Cobra Kai, right? It's like 20, 30 minutes. Like, okay, I'm going to watch all of them. It's very hard, and I will say that even as a Muppet fan, and I'm sorry I'm going off track, but like that Muppet show that they had, like I never came back to watch it again because I just want to watch them all at once. They're so short. Just let me watch them all back to back. So that's, I think, a little bit of a fear for this. But because it's Marvel, I think people are still going to watch it.
Yeah. They're counting on that.
If it was anything else, you'd lose people because, it's you're already taking such a huge swing with the format of the show. And we all know it's going to pay off at the end, or at least we hope so. I mean, right now it's sitting as the highest rated Marvel property on Rotten Tomatoes, right? But we're only, even the critics have only seen 3 episodes. So, we got a 9-episode season, I believe. Is it 9 or 8? It's 9. Episodes to go, so we got a lot of stuff winding down. I will say there, it's funny, Travis, that you mentioned the not liking the old sitcoms and not liking that aspect. Me, I have fond memories of watching I Love Lucy in the afternoons. I was sick or something like that from school, so that actually is something really attached me to it. And I thought they did an amazing job. And Paul Bettany's whole magic show, Drunk Vision thing was hilarious.
That was great.
And they both really just
individual elements of the show are fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just something about the overall package in those first couple episodes. It just wasn't quite clicking. I think they were so busy trying to show off the format that what they were actually building to kind of just got lost.
It feels forced.
Yeah, it does a little bit.
Yeah,
but it does really pick up steam in the 3rd episode. As it moved into the I call it the that girl era of drums.
And I love that
it's a little bit more my speed. I actually kind of like that era a little bit more than like the ones before. So that one may have played into why I liked it a little bit more as well. So.
And one of the best aspects of the show that's not even really anything to do with the performances or the story or anything like that is that I love watching this, knowing that, obviously this is all a mental mind prison or whatever, but looking for all the clues that are dropping in everywhere. And then knowing that when this season's over, you can look back and watch it and say, oh, yeah, that's where that came from. I just find it to be so fun.
There are some really fun theories out there about what is actually going on. I mean, like, as the Marvel Comics fan I know that anytime Wanda faces tragedy, the world is in trouble. She's usually going to do something that bends reality. But there's also Catherine Hahn, who I firmly believe is Agatha Harkness, and she's probably got some part to play in this. And there's stuff going on here. And then there's and this where we are venturing into spoiler territory. So, but you guys already know that we always spoil stuff on here.
Yeah.
You got the presence of Sword that's out there as well. And there's a whole bunch of stuff here that I don't know what's actually happening. I have theories, but I don't know for sure, and that's kind of hooking me in. So
yeah,
I'm curious to see if Vision is alive at the end of this series or not. I assume he will be, but I'm curious. I'm curious if the 2 kids will grow up to become part of the Young Avengers. I'm sure they will. But all these things these are the things that got me excited watching episode 3. Like, okay, here's where it's starting. Here's where that's going. Okay, now I'm getting excited. Once they started teasing this stuff, WandaVision got really good. Really good.
Yeah, as the mystery unfolds, I mean, you're definitely hooked in.
Yeah, and it shows the potential of Marvel on the small screen. I mean,
100%, yeah.
Jesus Christ, you start thinking about what they're going to be able to do, the stuff they'll be able to tease in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I mean, the stuff they'll be able to tease in Loki. These things that are going to make their way into the big screen. It's crazy. Well, we got like 12 things from Marvel coming out this year or something ridiculous like that.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, and it just it cements what makes Marvel so special. That thing that DC can't copy, that nobody else will copy, is because they are, and always have been willing to take really big swings, and I mean really go for those swings. They don't half-ass it at all. They're going to do something that's totally different and totally strange, and you're going to love it, and they know that. And because they have that confidence in it, and they have the right talent behind it, you end up with something that you like no matter what it is. I mean, even Guardians of the Galaxy, once upon a time, if you told the average moviegoer what it was about, oh yeah, talking raccoon in a tree, team up with a space pirate. Yeah,
I remember that. I remember when they were first talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, and nobody knew who the hell the Guardians of the Galaxy was. It was a huge gamble for Marvel.
Yeah, I find it almost impossible not to trust in Marvel to put out a solid product at this point.
Yeah, so I mean, we even look past stuff like Captain America: The First Avenger, and that movie's shit.
I love that movie.
I know you do.
If you had a soul, you would like it too.
Or every one of the Thor movies.
Good God, those first two Thor movies.
Yeah.
God, I've never said that an actual Marvel movie is bad, because there hasn't really been a truly bad one.
Yeah.
But those are about as close as it gets.
Yeah.
They're not good. They're not
pretty
good.
rough.
They're tough to watch.
Especially going back.
They're tough to watch, especially when you know how good Thor Ragnarok is. You're like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like the swings. I mean, Thor Ragnarok was another huge swing. Look how it paid off. So, we are at about 10 after 3 at this point. So I think we got everything wrapped up. And Scott, you've been extremely generous with your time. So we don't want to hold you up any longer. Really appreciate you coming on.
It's been a lot of fun, Scott. I'm glad you were able to join us.
Hey, no worries. Happy to be on. It was a lot of fun.
Got to do it again, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Scott Menzel, tell everybody about your site real quick. Tell everybody a little bit about We Live Entertainment before we get out of here. Just give them where it's at and tell us what you're doing, what you got coming up real fast.
Okay, cool. You can go to weliveentertainment.com. You can find my written reviews and interviews there. Also have a wide variety of writers there. They produce some really great work. And Travis' good friend, Karen M. Peterson, over there, taking over our awards department, writing some good stuff. You'll catch me pretty much throughout the rest of the year doing a bunch of interviews. That's kind of where my focus has been lately. Go to follow me on Twitter at Scott D. Menzel. Most people will either agree or disagree with what I have to say. It's always a fun place to be. Love the comments and love getting into stuff with people. But it was a pleasure being on here, and I look forward to doing this. It was a lot of fun, seriously.
Thanks a lot,
awesome,
man.
We greatly appreciate it.
Yep, thank you, Scott. John, you want to read us out of here?
Yeah, man. So don't forget the site is www.punchdrunkcritics.com. Check that every single day for all the news, interviews, and all that good stuff we have. On Twitter, the site is at PDC Movies. Travis is at Punchy Critic, and I am at PunchDrunkJohn. Don't forget to subscribe. Travis on Twitch at cinematic_enforcer. And if you have any tips, questions, want to try and write, we're always looking for good writers.